Hello, good morning. I was watching a video this morning from an American guy who some of you might have recalled had an issue with his stepson being attacked by an intoxicated family member a few months back now. He had suffered a fractured fractured skull, which meant he actually had to have pretty serious operation on his head. And my thought for the day goes to basically the comments that he often refers to, and I can understand his frustration, his experiences of the Philippines has been somewhat not the best. He built a home and in a compound and had problems with family. I'd like to reassure people that that's not always the case. Um, Families are always different, different aspects of family, and of course, family is important here. They stick together, but sorry, you have to take into account that you will often find one or two members of a group of a family which may consist of 10, 15, maybe even 20 or more members with the uncles, aunties, cousins, nephews, where you will have some kind of confrontation with them. A lot of that, of course, is brought about by envy, jealousy, just a feeling of why can't I share in some of the good fortune of my cousin or my niece or my daughter. But that's not the general rule. Generally speaking, if you make yourself understood by those around your girlfriend, wife to be, fiance, at the start, that you're not going to be a continuous source of money for anyone really more than yourself and your immediate family, being your wife and maybe her children from a previous relationship. Because I think some of the channels here in the Philippines portray the image that it's a dreadful situation, and I can understand his own personal experiences that tend to leave him feeling that way. But I think we have to also be careful that we don't portray that as a general assumption that that's what's going to happen here in the Philippines. Most Filipinos are more than happy to embrace the inclusion of a foreigner in their midst, to treat him with respect, using that word that's so easily thrown around when it suits everybody. But we also have to remember that we are different, and we joining a family of similar uh, people as your wife, in other words, siblings, mothers, fathers, uncles. We have to remember that they are also struggling as well. In many cases, some of them are really, really struggling, but it isn't our responsibility. Morally, we might feel the need to assist with maybe the occasional 25 or 50 kilo bag of rice now and again, maybe around Christmas time when there is a lot of extras to confront everybody, every family. You know, the traditional way of showing off the food that you've all prepared for maybe November 1 or New Year's Eve or birthday parties or the inevitable every month birthday party until they reach 1 year old is in fact a strain on families, and those are the times when really we are able to step into the front and maybe offer to help others. Another way other ways of doing it, of course, is to invite them all around, specifically them, because you'll always get these hangers-on around the periphery of a family who will think it's their right to join in, maybe people who do the washing or people who do the gardening in the house. And again, that's not a problem, just a few extra hands or mouths to feed. But we must always remember that the leadership comes from us. We are the ones that bring into the family that unexpected windfall, in the sense that we in most cases, have a pretty substantial amount of money coming in to a family unit. And therefore we must be aware that we try not to be seen as a continuous flow of money. It's always a good idea not to discuss with anybody but maybe your wife how much you get. Even the children can let slip that, oh, Dada gets X amount per month. Because word travels fast if they think that life is so easy for them and their mother. And we also have to remember that sometimes when we dish out money willy-nilly, we are establishing a sort of a red line, a point of reference. And if we are free with our money to the extent of forgetting that sometimes we can live on less and still have a good time, that's a better way of making people realize that you can get by with less. Doesn't mean that life is harder. It just means that we're more conscious of the value of things. I've always taught the girls, for instance, that every time they ask for maybe a small amount of money, I often remind them that that's a day's salary for an average person here in the barangay. And it does slowly sink in. It takes a while for it to sink in. And they start to realize it. You receive the knowledge that they understand when they ask for less, or they say, well, yes, I do realize that, but that famous word, but we also are less likely to ask for that amount of money in the future, because they've suddenly realized that, yes, it is a lot of money to go up the road and buy takeout from some of the places. You can end up spending 400 or 500 pesos, for one meal, when you can have the ingredients and make a just as nice and fresh meal yourself with half that amount of money, if not even less. But they need to learn that, because it's survival techniques. After all, we're not all going to be able to hand over half our pension when we die. Some of our expats don't have that facility, or they don't have that service offered by their country of origin. So therefore, when we're on the planet, we have a certain responsibility to show responsibility, to demonstrate that we know how to do things. Of course, it will always be hard to encourage somebody to take that route when they've been so used to putting their hand out and asking and been happily receiving what you're prepared to give. When I first came to the Philippines, it was always easy just to dig my hand in the pocket and give it without question. But after a while, you start to realize that it's being taken. Yes, it's greatly received, but often not necessarily the way we would have maybe done it at home, where, oh, thank you so much, appreciation is shown. But it's shown in different ways. So we need to identify that. And like the American guy was talking about, often it's better to look after number one, look after your girls and your wife, or or whomever you are living with. Because at the end of the day, you are the family unit. They are an extension to that. Sure, when you hear of hard times, the family generally will rally around, as will more affluent members will be digging their hands in their pocket to help the family, maybe with a medical emergency or maybe a funeral. So every little bit counts, you know. Make sure you have a funeral plan so that you don't leave your lady in debt wondering how she's going to bury you. She's got enough to deal with readjusting her own life. So that's just my thought for the day. I hope you enjoy watching and continue watching, and we'll no doubt speak again soon. Bye now.